My name is Ilko Nechev. I have been helping the Porsche Club of America for the past 13 years with advertising and sponsorships. And more recently, I started helping the Audi Club and the Mercedes Club with advertising and sponsorships for whether it's the print magazines or digital media or events.
Chain link driver.
Basically, like ad and sponsorship sales
Yeah,
for those
exactly.
cars. Yeah,
Exactly, which is my background. That's how I started. The PCA gig, so to speak, came out of me reaching out to the previous editor of Panorama, who was just named an editor back in 2012. And I asked him if he needed help with ad sales since the editor prior to him, she had been doing the magazine for about 43 years. And she didn't have anyone selling ads. If someone called, she would take the ads, she would take the order, but there was nobody selling ads. And I was already a PCA member at that time, so I knew the advertisers. I knew how the process worked, and I interviewed with PCA. I met with the guys. I lived in New York at the time. I'm in California now, but I drove down to Maryland where PCA headquarters is and met with the team, the executive council, and the executive director. We had several conversations and we decided that we're a good match for each other. So that was, yeah, 13 years ago.
that's right, man. It's a great niche too. I mean, I think it's from my perspective, what you're doing is God's work, right? Because you're keeping funded these small publishers that are so very important to the enthusiast community in these particular brands.
It helps, yeah, it helps with sustainability. Obviously, the advertising is not the only thing that
Right.
keeps them afloat. Uh, a portion of the membership dues helps in that regard too, and that's why the business model is different than regular print media, where you would either have to sell subscriptions or sell them on newsstands, which are disappearing quick.
Right.
And well, they have been disappearing for a long time. So having a club, a nonprofit organization, which all car clubs are, in essence, behind you, it really helps in the sense that some of the costs that you would have to put up in order to get the magazine off the ground are covered by the membership dues, and the rest of it is covered by advertising.
So back to Unstock. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Just this is the busiest time of year for
Is it
me.
post SEMA?
It's post SEMA. It's getting all the contracts renewed, getting hopefully a lot of new clients for 2026. So it's the busiest time of year. Plus, we have an event coming up with PCA Unstock, the ones that's dedicated to modified Porsches this weekend. And I need to make sure that all the cars that we promised that we'll deliver there will be there, and that everybody will have a good time. So yeah,
Is that like coordination between like private owner car, but a particular advertiser, it's representative of
most
them?
most are private owner cars. So we have over 140 cars signed up for the event, modified Porsches. The whole idea behind the event, Unstock, was born at SEMA because we will go there, we'll see these crazy Porsche builds, and not just Porsche builds, but the ones that we focus on are the Porsche cars. And they will get a ton of coverage on social media. And I mean, I've been going to SEMA for well over a decade now. So before social media, even, they'll
Right.
get a ton of coverage on websites and in forums, and then they'll disappear. And we figured, well, what if we invited these cars and put an event around the modified cars um, to see if we can get some of those builds at the show, because a lot of the cars are built in Southern California anyway. So that's kind of how the show started. And this is our fourth or fifth show now that we're putting together. So yeah, we invited a few cars from SEMA.
Can we try without the buds? Because you're garbling just a little bit.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
How's this? Actually,
It's good. Yeah, it's smoother. Well, really quick,
Hmm.
Un, am I saying it?
Unstock.
Unstock. So more the German, but
Yes, and it has an umlaut too.
does it? Is there a German word that was just like
There is
the
no German
German
word.
flair on the stock
Actually,
word?
we have to give credit to Loan Vu's wife. She came up with it
Did she?
with the name, and it's stuck. It's a great name. It's short.
Yeah,
It's to the
gets the
point.
point
It tells
across.
you exactly what you need to know.
Yeah, and importantly, you've mentioned Vu a couple times. Vu Nguyen, who's the executive director of Porsche Club North America, and all around
Yes.
great guy. And
Yeah,
but for those who don't
he
know,
is the brain behind the operation, the brain behind Unstock. It's his baby, but yeah, that's the idea behind it because a lot of times when within the enthusiast community, you think of car clubs as people who like to go to a Cars and Coffee or a Concours and just try to keep their car clean and pristine, or they're only interested in track events. But there's a large contingent of members who are interested in modifying their cars. I have not owned a single car that I haven't touched and upgraded, quote unquote,
all right.
over the years. And there are many people like me who is the same way. So we decided that it's a good event to showcase that side of the community as well.
So I guess to that end, like I figured there's one car of yours that I really want to talk about most, but like, can you kind of go through what you drive, man? Just to
Sure, yeah. I
and mods maybe
there's lots of mods.
ish. Yeah,
Lots of mods. There's
basics.
more mods than OEM parts on some of the cars, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started, and actually, you probably don't know this. I don't think I've told you this because we've known each other for a little bit, but
Yeah.
we haven't been really spending too much time together to go over my history or your history with cars. And I've kind of filled in the blanks over the past few years of knowing you just based on your name. And I'll tell you one thing. The story where it begins is that when I lived in New York, we lived in Manhattan, and it was not easy being a car guy there. So I had a little Civic hatchback, a '96 EK hatchback that I did upgrade. It was such a mess, that car, but it was sort of my first car in New York. And once I got more into the advertising business and I was starting to make real money, I decided that I wanted to get a new car, a newer car, something more fun. And it wasn't that I was really into cars from a young age, but it sort of happened that way that I got involved into modifying that Civic hatchback, and then I got more into cars and started looking around, and the Volkswagen R32 caught my eye when it was still new, and of course VW Vortex. That's
Yeah.
how I found out everything there is to know about the car. So I was able to buy one while there were still some on the lots. I bought a used one with 7,000 miles for a good price, and I just started living on Vortex, and I did so many different things to it, like BBS CH wheels, the Haldex upgrade,
Did
the
you?
new speed, anti roll bars, even the MFD navigation system that those cars came in, the CD-based navigation system. I think I was the first or one of the very few people who had it in the US. And
Oh,
I
no
was able
kidding.
to hook up an iPod to it. I mean, we're talking about 20 plus years ago. So
Yeah.
that was a big deal to have actual navigation screen on the car. Yeah, so that car was really special to me, and as I was getting more and more into the VW experience, I was looking also at the Fortitude section of Vortex, and there was
Right
this
on.
guy George at Fortitude that I kept reading
Yeah.
about all the things that he was doing. And frankly, I didn't put two and two together until 20 years later.
Oh, when we first started chatting about Audi Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I tell you, the life is interesting because you make certain decisions and they completely can transform your life. And the the R32 became a little small for my family at the time, and I was thinking of maybe upgrading to something bigger. Their prices had also gone up, which is something that I didn't even consider when buying a car. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about cars at the time at all. But the I had an Audi dealer offer me practically 50% over what I paid for it
Oh,
2 years later. And I walked away with an all-road 2.7T and about $12,000 in my pocket.
nice trade. Well, maybe
So at the time, yeah,
217.
270, that car was it had its high points and its low points.
Yeah.
But at the time I was thinking, okay, maybe I can get a Mark II GTI because that was something really special. It was the first Western Western bloc car that I've ever seen. I'm from Bulgaria originally. I grew up there. I didn't move to the States until I was 18 and 19 when I came here to school. But I remember seeing my first Golf. It was a Mark II Golf parked near our building in Sofia in Bulgaria. And as kids, it was the most beautiful cars the most beautiful car that I'd ever seen. Um, and we would always look at the speedometer of the car because all the Russian cars, their speedometers ended at around 160 or 180 kilometers an hour, so that's about 100 or 110. And
Yeah.
that Golf was at 220, not 200, but 220. We thought it was the fastest car in the world. We've never
Uh,
seen anything with a two.
right.
So I wanted to maybe get one of those. I also was looking at an Audi TT. There was a 225 TT at the time with an aviator gray that I really liked. Um, but then on the car lounge on Vortex, someone posted 944 Turbo for sale out in California, and I'm like, it's the same money as the Audi TT or a really well set up Mark II GTI. Maybe I go for the Porsche, even though it was 20 years old at the time. And that's what I did. I never seen the car. It was for sale at the Auto Kennel here in Costa Mesa, and I had the car shipped, came to New York, and it was a rocket. I mean, I started
Yeah, man.
immediately upgrading it, anti-roll bars, banjo bolts, all kinds of things. And the thing that made an impression on me on that car was that it was 20 years older than than the R32 that I sold. But you take the front wheels off and you see those beefy brakes and suspension parts. They look so different. They like
Yeah.
really a different type of quality. And not knocking VW, but it was just to me, not knowing a lot about cars was a startling difference of
Right.
how much beefier the 944 was. And that car had very few miles, so I took it to a racetrack immediately. I joined PCA right away. I went up to Pocono to take it to the track, and he had very few miles. He had like 32,000 miles on it,
Oh, wow.
so it was brand new. Practically, the guy that owned it, he never drove it. And the PCA guys looked at me like, "You're crazy to be driving this car on the track. You're gonna just destroy it. You should sell it and get a track car." Uh, and I did listen to them. I ended up putting it for sale, and I got so many offers over my asking price that I was able to sell it and get a 964 with the money. The 964s were the unloved 911s at the time. I
Right.
picked mine up for 16 grand, a black one in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
That's excellent.
So that was a special car to me. My first 911
The C2?
before
C4?
it was an all-wheel drive, but beggars can't be choosers. It was one
Right,
of the
right.
cheaper ones
16
that
grand,
was
man.
also local. You can
Yeah.
get on the train from Penn Station down to Cherry Hill, and I was able to see the car in person. There were a few things that I didn't know about it in terms of the body and engine, but it was good enough for me. Someone who was, 25, 26 years old. Probably not the smartest decision financially when you think about it, but it was just so much fun.
Did
So
you?
much
I
fun.
mean, it's tough in that time. You put it in context, and I was looking at 964. What year is this?
So that was 2006. Yeah,
Yeah.
19
Okay.
years ago.
So I'm later than you. I start looking at 964s. Well, I always liked them, but I started looking at
Hmm.
them in like 2014 or so.
Yeah.
And they're still like in the teens, right? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
but the problem with those cars when they were that price was like when they would need things that would probably, like if it needed a motor rebuild, that would
Sure.
probably almost total the car, right? And
Yeah.
so that they've gone up in value has been good because it justifies the restorations and the mechanical upkeep of them in a way that like you might think twice about a $16,000 car.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that the parallel that I draw is with 928s these days.
Oh yeah,
Those cars are cheap now just because they have a lot of mechanical issues, just because they were $5,000 cars for a couple of decades and
right,
people just didn't maintain them. And when you don't maintain a car of that caliber for a long time, it ends up being very expensive when you start doing the work on it, for sure.
right.
Yeah. But
Is there a
yeah,
market for
that's
those
that's
now?
kind of how things started and snowballed from there. I did a lot of track days with PCA. I did a lot of tours. Didn't do a Concours because it was just a a crappy car with 100,000 miles on it. But a lot of other things. I met a lot of good people, and that's how I got connected with the club.
So you've done right. All right. So that's the lead up. I
Yeah.
know you have a Ferrari because that's what we rolled around in LA in.
Right. Yeah.
That's got some mods.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. The reason why I got that car was because I really wanted a Boxster Spider when it came out about 5, 6 years ago, was it? And it was during the pandemic, and all the dealers thought that whatever inventory they had was worth its weight in gold, and they wouldn't sell me one. I went to a few different dealers. They wanted me to buy Macans and Cayennes. They wanted me to pay over. I'm like, forget it, I'm not doing
Yeah.
that. So, and it was going to be the first car the first new car I would ever own. And I still don't, never own a new car.
No.
But I figured, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to be playing that game. I don't want to do that. I had sold a 993 at the time that I had built to RS spec. It was practically one-to-one RS spec 993, and that's how I had the money to finance the Spider purchase. But I started then looking at 458s because they were always really special to me. The first time I saw one was in Montreal in 2010, 2011, during the Grand Prix weekend when they were doing the Ferrari Challenge races in between F1 sessions. And the 458 was brand new. It was the first time that I ever seen one of those cars before, and it looked so different than anything else, and it looked so beautiful, and it sounded so amazing. But when I lived in New York, I would not have wanted to own one of those cars because it came with its own social stigma,
Yeah.
and it was also a big car, so it's not a something that you want to roll around on Lexington Avenue. But out here out west, nobody cares about what you drive, and so I started looking at them. They were not that much more expensive than a well optioned out Boxster Spider. So that's how I ended up with one, and it's been great. I've had it for 5+ years now. Literally, I have to say it's the best all around car
Is it?
that I've owned, just because it can be a hair on fire experience, or it can be really docile and you can just putter around the seventh gear, very quiet all the way up to Monterey and back, no problem. Yeah. You mentioned mods, and the funny thing is that there's not a ton you can do with them, like with a Volkswagen derivatives, whether it's VW or Audi or even BMW, Porsches. You can mod them to your heart's content, but
Right.
with with Ferraris, there is a bit of a stigma with the people who own them are older. They don't really care so much about the modding parts, about how they look. It's more of a status symbol, and I get that. But that's not why I bought the car. I bought it because it was a really special driving experience.
Right.
So I have to say I was intimidated at first because I've been working on my car since I bought one just because I couldn't afford to have anyone else service it. I had to do it myself. And that's how I learned with, borrowed tools to change thermostat so that my car doesn't overheat.
Yeah.
But I was really apprehensive at first to even touch the 458 because I thought that they were fragile. I thought that they had all kinds of issues, and that wasn't the case at all. As soon as I got into it, it became obvious that it was a really easy car to work on. At first, I didn't understand why it had to be so big. It width-wise. But as I started taking it apart, I saw that the engine sits so low, the mid-engine V8 sits so low, and the headers are on the side. They're not below the engine, they go to the side. So it's in order to keep the weight distribution as low as possible, they put the engine down as low as possible, and they put the way that they put the headers around the engine. That's just how you had to do it in order to achieve the lowest center of gravity possible. And I appreciate that also because you have a lot of space to work now in that engine bay. Gives you a ton of room. So yeah, I've done a few things. I've changed the suspension. I put wheels from a F8 on it. I've done some exhaust modifications, stuff like that. But yeah, there's not a ton you can do, but they're not difficult cars to work on and are generally quite reliable. You just put gas in them, good gas in them, oil, stick to your maintenance schedule, and yeah, they're great. I mean, mine has 40 plus thousand miles on it, I think now, and it just never had a problem with it. Never in terms of check engine lights or anything like that. It's always been in good shape. Like even there are some things about those boutique manufacturers I have to say. For instance, I did have when I got it, I noticed that there was a sort of a leak from under the uh, rear wheel arch, and it wasn't oil. I figured it was a hydraulic fluid, and I realized that it was the front lift pump was leaking. So I was like, "Oh, great! What is that going to cost me?" It was early on in my ownership experience, so I looked at the Ferrari website. Oh, they want 3 grand for a pump. So I figured, okay, let me take a few things apart, see what it is, and it's all gummed up and caked up when I open it up. But I cleaned it up and it says Parker Hydraulics, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm like, oh, so this is an American made part. I call Parker and I tell them what I have, and they're like, oh yeah, just any of our service centers can uh, can fix that pump for you. So I took the pump out. There's a service center that's literally 10 minutes from my house. I go down there, $200 later, the pump is as good as new. Put it in, no problems for the next 4 years.
Smart.
Yeah. So my the one thing I want to say is that don't be afraid of these things. Sometimes the tales are quite spectacular, but in reality
Right.
they're pretty reliable cars.
Spectacular. I've got a buddy with an Aston who's like the king of he loves his Aston, but he's a bit cheap about things, and
Uh-huh.
he's the king of like digging into what particularly Ford parts fit.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Less so now because he's got one of the Mercedes Astons, but he had like the old V8 that was of the PAG era,
Uh-huh.
and he's
Uh-huh.
definitely the king of the Ford
Yeah.
parts bin.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, so you have this 993 that you got as well that you built, right? Ish.
Yes.
Would you
And
call it
that
a
was
restoration?
not the idea behind it.
No.
So the reason why I got that car was as I mentioned earlier, I had the my 964 when I was in my early mid 20s, and it's sort of like a midlife crisis is what I'm experiencing now with the 993 because I've owned, this is my seventh 964 993 derivative.
Okay.
And I've always had such fond memories with them, going to the Glen early in the morning in the middle of the summer, no AC in the car, just windows down, just blasting through the throughway with just going through a track day and just having so much fun. But that's why I picked up that 993 and I found it on the PCA Mart website,
Okay.
not even looking for a car. I wasn't even, I was looking at some of the ads that we had placed for one of our clients. I wanted to make sure that they're running as scheduled. And I see this car, it had 144,000 miles on it. It'd been somebody's daily driver in upstate New York for 18 years. And it looked in
C
pretty,
C2S, C4S.
it's
I know it's a white
C4S,
one. C4S.
C4S, and the license plate said Snow Blizz. So, driven all seasons. It was in really bad shape. It had rattle can paint on the wheels, rattle can paint on one of the fenders. There was rust, and me, the eternal optimist, how bad could it be? So I made
Arena Red, I think
Arena
originally.
Red. It was, yes.
Yeah.
Several accidents on the Carfax. I think it has at least three accidents on the Carfax. Um, and I figured, how bad could it be? Came to California about 2 years ago, and it was really bad.
Well, so the rust was,
The
or
rust was really bad.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it was so bad, George. Um, Obviously, the usual spots on the windshield, the cowl, that stuff. But even he had replacement Coney shocks that the yellow had rusted out from
Oh,
from the shock absorbers. Yeah, never seen anything like it. So I found a shop down in El Cajon, which is close to the Mexican border. They restored some 911s in the past, and they've worked on these cars. So I dropped it off over there. I was paying, you know, it was a lot less expensive to get the work done there than any of
yeah.
the other restoration shops. And those guys were quick and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They've seen those cars, so they used to rust. They used to, because that's the thing, is finding someone to work on rusted cars in California. Forget it. That most people don't know what that is.
Interesting.
I couldn't even take a bolt off without a shearing or whatever. Anyway, so the car was the idea was to just clean it up as much as possible and then repaint it, get rid of the rust. But by the time they took the rusty areas out, there was practically no Arena Red left on it. So yeah, I asked, well, how much is it to get it fully repainted, including the engine bay and the front trunk and the wheel wells in a different color? And I was surprised at how much little more it would have cost to do it. I'm like, well, just do it. And my all-time favorite Porsche color is Maritime Blue.
I'm
Comes
with you on that one.
Yeah, from my 964 days, I've always loved Maritime. It's such a great color. So I asked him to do it in Maritime Blue, and that's how the car ended up in this color.
So that's a just to color nerd out for a second. That's a 964 Carrera Cup color, as I recall.
Yes, RS and Cup cars came in it. There are a few standard cars that also were painted
Yeah.
in that color. The 968 Club Sport also came in that color. 94, 95 cars. Yeah.
Occasionally you'll see a 944, but it was like that when the 964 Cup launches, it's
Hmm.
like there are a couple colors that like go back to that time, right? Like mint green, ruby star, as I recall, and
Yep.
and maritime kind of most notably.
Correct.
And I think that's what, but it's kind of hot now. All three of those are kind of hot now for like PTS decisions.
Sure.
But in period, they sort of like were there, and then they kind of like a lot of fashions do, because those are all kind of bold colors. It almost seems like they got a bit like, okay, we've done that, let's move on. And so I don't
Hmm.
know that they're. I trying to think. I may have seen a 993 in that color, but it's almost like it's gone by the time 993s pop up.
So the color was not available for 993s. I
Okay,
know of one car that was standard. It was a Sonderwunsch car, Special Wishes. It was a cab, 993 cab, painted in that color. But for the 993, initially they came out with Riviera Blue, which is a much lighter blue color.
right. A little
That's
more
the one
green.
that everybody's going after these days. They love that color.
Riviera's a little, it's funny. Audi kind of did something similar. Like when they replaced Nagaro, they
Hmm.
went to like a Sprint blue, and they
Sprint,
kind of shifted to the green side of the spectrum, which is
sure,
kind of
but
what Riviera
also
does too.
Sprint was a metallic color, and Nogaro
Pearl.
is a solid, a non-metallic. Yeah,
I think it's pearl.
is it? Okay.
Very, very subtle metallic. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I always mixed up Maritime and Nagaro. I thought they were interchangeable, and then one day I was at like on the East Coast. I don't know if you ever came out to like the swap meet in Pennsylvania, but
All
like,
the time. You
did
kidding
you?
me? It was the first event of the year. Yeah,
Yeah,
late April. I mean, it. It's a 3 hour drive from New York, but it was so worth it and loved it.
right.
Mostly for the crab cakes.
Yeah, well, yeah. So excellent event, and I've been out in Carlisle the last couple of years, and I
Hmm.
happen to have I had a Nagaro Blue RS6 at the time, and a
Yeah.
buddy of mine, Woody, had a 964 RS. What's the one that's like street, but it's like a cup car kind of.
NGT.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is an
Yeah.
NGT. You got it off BAT and bring a trailer.
Hmm.
And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna end this once and for all. Like I pulled the RS6 up next to him and took pictures of it. Like they're so similar, but not. They're like it's not the
No,
same.
they're different. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Nogara is a lot darker. It also has purple in it,
Yeah.
but it's a lot darker, and the Maritime is a much lighter color. And funny, my wife, she had seen the car several times, but only in the garage. And then one time I asked her to drop me off so I can pick it up at the shop. And she drops me off. The car is outside. She's like, "This is a different car. It's not the same car. It just changes color so much
Does
in
it?
different light. It can become purple or light blue or
Yeah.
depending on the color. Yeah, and Nogara is similar in that regard.
Right. They're all kind of like derivative of like what the classic French blue, like kind of like primary blue,
Hmm.
just kind of modern takes. But like, yeah, it looks. When I saw you were doing that, I was I was both of course I love the car and I love the decision, but also bold strategy. You've got like a rusty New York State, like upstate arena red C4S, like
Yes.
um
Yes. Well, I mean, it had to be done, and I figured Arena Red was not my favorite color.
yeah,
I've grown to like it, but it's not something that I would uh, search
right.
and want to get. So, and this was just I figured it'd be the one opportunity I have to get it done, considering it's already
Yeah, and if you're that close
80%
to want
there.
to go, yeah, I think if I have my 964 is black, and if I had to
Mhm.
repaint it for some reason, I would be very tempted to
Oh, a black car, I wouldn't even think twice just
yeah,
because it's so much easier to do a black car because the engine bay, the trunk, it doesn't matter as much. You can't have a
right,
blue car on the outside and you open the trunk and it's,
arena red.
burgundy on the
Yeah.
inside. That
So
doesn't look right.
I mean, they got it pretty well then. The color changed, like
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I had him do the whole thing. It's they did a good job with putting together all the anywhere you look, you're not gonna find Arena Red.
Now, how does that work? So I will say this, being the gray would probably deceive people, but I'm being younger in the scene, at least as like PCA and in
Hmm.
context of all that. The last time there was a PCA event here in Nashville, I thought about attending with my 964, and then
Hmm.
I was not like that to sign up for everything. So like I missed the sign up
Oh,
for the
for
show.
parade was the parade at
It was the one in the
Hershey?
Poconos.
Oh, Poconos, yes, the
Yeah,
Poconos parade.
like two
Yeah,
years ago, 3 years ago.
three. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I was smart enough to like sign up for the initial, like got registered, but I didn't
Hmm.
register for any of the events. And so like when I finally got up there, they're like, yeah, we don't really have an area to just park. You're either in it or you're not, and we're sold out.
Yeah.
So
Parade is a different animal.
yeah, what
It's
it seemed like they were very, very like my car's a driver, so that was the other
sure.
thing.
Yeah, I know. I've seen your car. Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know that it would have fit in there
No,
anyway,
it
just because
totally would have. It totally
it's
would have.
would
It's
have.
interesting. Parade is it was the first gathering of Porsches, a mass
Yeah,
gathering of all PCA members back in 1955. So next year, because we didn't do one during COVID, but next year we'll be celebrating our 70th parade, and
wow.
in Lake Placid, by the way, so not too far from you. It's
Yeah, you going?
it's worth a drive. I'm going. Yeah.
Are you? Maybe I
Uh-huh.
should sign up then.
Yeah, it's worth going. Lake Placid itself, it's a great area,
Right,
but it started as just a gathering of the Porsches, and it was I've seen footage from the early ones, the
right.
crazy stuff those guys did with the 356s, like gymkhanas and
Yeah,
driving in reverse and trying to back up while driving in reverse, doing wheelies, stuff that would never fly now.
right.
But, there was only so much you can do in an open space, and they did it all. I mean, they thought of all kinds of ways to abuse the cars. I'm saying that in a good way,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Have fun with them.
they really made the most of it. And it's evolved over the years. I mean, when you think about it, this 70 parades is a long history. Now there are over 1,000 people that sign up, including spouses. You're looking at over 2,000.
It's
On the big parades have 12, 1,300 cars that come in for the week.
yeah.
And there are a lot of events. The big one is the Concours, which is always on a Monday. The parade starts on Sunday, and then the very first following morning, you have the big parade, the big Concours. And the funny thing is that what PCA has done over the years is to select resorts in different parts of the country. Obviously, every parade is in a different place that can host people who are really meticulous about their cars. They have a lot of specific needs. Like there needs to be at least two car washes on the premises. So they set up
Mm.
car washes, whether it's through fire hydrants that are converted into washing bays so you can have access to water, or drying stations, cleaning stations. And this is all happening prior to the event starting. We even tell the hotel that they need to be fine with people bringing wheels into their rooms on luggage
Uh,
carts,
uh,
and those wheels will be washed in the bathtub. And trust us when we tell you that the bathtub will be cleaner by the time the wheels are out than it was beforehand. So they're very meticulous about it. I mean, we've
yeah.
had people that you even touch the back of the the brake calipers, the brake rotors, and there's no dust on it. People drive their car on the e-brake just so that there's no brake dust on to Concours, and then they spend 2 or 3 days cleaning the cars, and the
Right.
very next day they start with driving tours all over the
Is
area.
is that why the Concours is early? So they
That's
can
exactly
get
right.
that out of the way and
Yes.
then enjoy the
Get it
car.
out of the way,
So,
and then go nuts and enjoy your car in all different ways. And then you have the autocross
yeah.
and everything that comes along with it. So track days if there is a racetrack nearby, but there's a lot of driving involved. And there are people that come from all over the country. I mean, we have one person come in from Alaska every year in his G-Body Red 911. He starts the trek sometime in May and then just takes his time. And he's been all the way down to Florida when we had it. I
Hmm.
guess this year it won't be too far for him
I
coming
think I
to
saw
upstate
that
New
car.
York, but it's a big gathering of people. And I would say about 50% of the people that go to parade have been to multiple parades, and
Yeah.
they plan their vacation, the annual vacation around parade because they have so many friends. And they come from all over the country, but they know each other, and they've created these friendships and camaraderie over the years. And about another 50% are from the local regions. who people who have either been to one or two parades or have never been to one, and we've always had a difficult time. That the Northeast and the Mid Atlantic are the strongest areas of the PCA in terms of membership, but it's been difficult to find resorts that can host us, especially as parade has grown over
That
the years.
sucks. Yeah.
So we're fortunate to have Lake Placid next year. It'll be a lot of fun.
Do you know the dates on it?
It's in June. I can
Is
look
it
them
in
up.
June?
Give me 1 second because I
Dude, you
just
should
did
come in. So 2026, Placid.
2026. Yes.
You should come in early and go to the Canadian GP and then roll down to Placid.
Oh yes, the Canadian GP. I used to go religiously every year. It's so Lake Placid, June 14th through the 20th next
All right.
year. Yeah.
Well, if you decide to do both, well, they're up that way. I
We'll
was
have
gonna
to
say
is the
I
is
could park
the
your car here for me,
oh
I'm not.
yeah.
But you'd be much closer to Montreal in Placid than
Montreal is
coming to
closer.
my place.
So I mean, we have to figure. We also, my wife wants to go back to New York because we haven't been
Yeah.
back in a few years. We'll see how that works. But the Canadian Grand Prix, isn't it earlier in the year now? Did
It's
they
like
move
the end
it?
of May. I'm actually going. A buddy of
Okay.
mine, one of the other RS6 tribute owners, my
Uh-huh.
buddy Tino. He actually has a really sweet son bunch GT3 touring too. He goes every year and he
Yeah.
buys the block of tickets, and like
Hmm.
usually there'll be a couple people who wash out that particular year. So he had a couple extra tickets, and I picked up tickets for my kids and my wife, and it's probably one of the more, I would imagine, the most affordable GP in the US.
Well, in North America, along with I guess in Mexico City is good, but
Yeah.
it's always been affordable. It's always been good. And do you know where you're sitting?
He sent me video of the spot. I don't know where. I'm not as familiar with the track,
Mhm.
but it's you're like the cars go up and hit like a curve and come back to you. So you see him going and then coming back.
That's the spot. That's the exit of the hairpin. So
Okay.
that's the best spot. Your
Sweet.
friend knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's going like 25 years. So
Yes.
he's like go to this hotel, don't leave Sunday night because everybody's running for the border
Yep.
Sunday night. Like I got all the tips. So I'm
Yeah.
just like,
The exit of the hairpin is my favorite. You're right there next to the support pits as well. So
sweet.
there's a lot to do in between sessions. You can go and see the GT3 Cup cars, the Ferrari Challenge cars. Sometimes they would have also some of the historic Grand Prix cars from the 70s and
Hmm.
the 80s. And those are really cool to see because you see how simple those cars
Yeah.
were. I mean, you just strap a big V8 to the
Right.
car, which just becomes part of the chassis, and you go. I mean, there's not much to it. Rebuilding gearboxes right in the pits, and it's just so fun, so fun. I'm happy for you that you're able to
Yeah.
do that.
No, I'm psyched. Well, and obviously Audi will be on the grid next year too,
That's right. That's right.
which
Yeah,
makes it
that's going to be exciting. They've collected quite a few good people have joined the team.
yeah.
So if they put together a good power unit, they'll do well. They'll do
Yeah,
well. I'm hopeful for them.
I'm psyched to see it. Drivers look strong. The team's really
Hmm.
picked up pace in the latter half of the season. So
Yeah, Hulkenberg, he was on the podium in Monza, I think it
Silverstone.
was.
Yeah. I think it was England, wasn't it?
Oh, was it at okay, yeah, Silverstone. That's right, because he Lewis wanted to get third and he couldn't. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I think he got Lewis on pace in that race, which I was
Hmm.
like,
Hmm. Yeah,
what
he
the
ran
heck?
out of steam at the end. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I'm psyched. I'll have to I don't know if I can talk my wife into letting me roll up to upstate New York twice that month, but that would be cool to see and definitely be cool to hang out.
Well, it could be work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. To a Taylor driver thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I got to ask you. Speaking of like events in New York next
Mhm.
year, I know you were just at SEMA, and I'm curious about that. But I'm even probably more curious about. I know you went to Paris Retro Auto
Yes.
last year, and I think 2026 they're in New York.
Yes, there will be a show in New York. So Retromobile in Paris has been going on for a long time. And it's a very interesting event because you have the high-end European dealers all gather there. They bring cars, but you also have a lot of other companies that bring product, like Richard Mille is there. It's a boutique watch manufacturer. They sponsor a lot of the racing series. They sponsor Ferrari, and they bring in also a lot of historic cars just on display. It's a very cool area. You have the ACO, the Le Mans governing body. They are there as well, and it's a big gathering right smack in the middle of Paris in the middle of winter. Not exactly a car friendly city, but when you're inside that convention center, it just transforms the whole experience because you see things that you would never see otherwise. I mean, it's literally like a big car show that is open to the public. You can just buy a ticket and walk right in.
Hmm.
So they
I
are
like Essen.
looking at expanding this to New York and in November, I think mid or late November next year, they will be at the Javits Center. So I would like to go and check it out and see who will be there. I have connections with some of the high-end boutique dealers here in the US, and I know a few of them are very excited to participate and be there and
Right.
bring cars. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see how the show progresses and if it does well in the US, just like it has in Paris,
Right.
because the Retromobile show is different than some of the other shows in Europe. I used to go to the one in Essen for a number of years, and that one became more of a used car show than anything
Tech,
else.
Technoclassica
Latin
or
Classica, yeah, it was less of a showcase than just
cars?
literally horse trading.
Yeah.
That is ending, and Retro Classics, which is a show that ran in Stuttgart for a number of years, is now moving to that slot at that time. So they will be up in Essen in April, and I'm curious to see. I might go there to see what that show is like. Because when I used to go to the show in Essen before, and we would find clients for PCA on a regular basis. We would connect with clients, but those companies they disappear. Like for instance, Bill Stein was there, Vredestein, um, a number of other manufacturers would be there, but they disappeared over the years and just became a used car lot.
Right.
And Retro Classics has kind of taken that spot where I think the large manufacturers like Porsche and Mercedes-Benz, when they were at those events with their classic departments, those shows did well because they would have these big anchors and people would go to see those cars and see what they're capable of and what parts they're coming out with. And I remember Mercedes-Benz a few years ago at Technoclassica, they had a 3D printer that they brought in where they would just literally print parts, metal parts on the
Oh
spot
wow.
for cars that they didn't have the tooling for to do otherwise. But it's they made a classic part on the spot just for your car. They had
Hmm.
the design of the car, the CAD file, and they can just recreate it. And it was a Mercedes stamp part.
Wow. That's rad.
So when they had those anchors for the shows, more people went. But I guess the manufacturers decided that it was not worth their time as much as
No, that was the one in Stuttgart. Yeah.
that was. So Technoclassica in Essen was the big one.
Right.
And
And the
right
Mercedes
after
was,
COVID,
I guess I'm asking because like
mhm,
Mercedes and Porsche are both based in Stuttgart.
they're
So
both based in Stuttgart. They both used to go to Technoclassica
in Essen.
in Essen. Yeah. And then they stopped after the pandemic. They had whether it was staffing issues or financial issues, and Porsche now they definitely have financial issues. So we'll see how much they will support it. But when those big manufacturers were there, and the Volkswagen Group too. I mean, Audi was
Yeah.
there. Skoda had a display there, which was a really cool display to see these old rally Skodas from the 60s and 70s. in Riley livery, but they looked brand new,
Right.
restored. Uh, just really cool stuff. And you also had a lot of the clubs. They the fact that those big manufacturers were there, then you would have the owners clubs show up as well. So hopefully
Dude,
it can be replicated
dude,
by Retro Classics.
yeah, no, I feel like we lost something at that point. Like it's part of it is I know for a fact in the as the shift to electromobility started, right?
Hmm.
You now have to develop, or at that point, because they may be done developing the ICE platforms now, but you were developing kind of two platforms, so you've doubled your development costs
Sure.
to try to hit targets. And I know that like manufacturers were basically pulling their auto show budgets, so it wasn't just Techno Classica, it was like Geneva, and it
Yeah.
was Frankfurt basically closed. Munich
Hmm.
went to a mobility show for a while. I think it's becoming a bit of a car show again from the sounds of it this year, but yeah, it's a shame whether Techno Classic and Essen. There was also the I don't know if you ever went, but in the fall there's the Essen, basically their SEMA.
Right. Yes, they had one in December, and it's always at the same time as PRI in Indianapolis.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I never got to go there, but it seemed like an interesting show to go to. Yeah.
I attended like when we were doing Vortex, I
Hmm.
went and it was kind of like the way you described Techno Classica, or maybe it was I forget which one you said, maybe it was Retromobile, but unlike SEMA, which has no public days and is really just an industry show,
Hmm.
that event was, and there was a press day, so like nobody else in but vendors or just people doing displays and press, but it was like Op Sports Line. But at the same time, in those days, Volkswagen Group was there as well with like modified, or like Audi Sport would have been there with like either Zubahor, so their accessories lineup, or the Audi Sport cars, or they might build a concept, and then they would do it all again for Brothesy in the summer.
Hmm.
So like, man, those budgets, I wish they would, it was the lifestyle thing. Like it was making people care about their cars versus it just being a transportation appliance.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I agree with that. I agree with that. It's definitely changed a lot. Now everybody cares about the quail.
Yeah, the Quail is, I've attended the Quail. I enjoy it. It's amazing, but it kind of bothers me to I'm not here to diss on quail, but it's what's amazing about the quail for vendors is that it's like I hear the biggest, largest gathering of people in that, like whatever small percentage of income,
Hmm.
demo in the world. And so from like McLaren or any like whomever making these like uber expensive specialty cars, it's the most amazing place to be. And as a result, it's the most amazing place to be. But it's just so kind of like cut off and expensive to get into, and that sort of thing that I feel like that's great that if you're that income level, you can still afford to do that stuff, and the manufacturers can still afford to do that stuff. And manufacturers like Myers Manx and others coming in there and having a ton of fun, right? Like they're
Right.
really doing some really rad stuff.
Hmm.
But like when I'm at Monterey, it's funny. It's almost like there are two worlds, and it's so weird that like being at either Works Reunion or Legends of the Autobahn or like some of those are almost like the plebes who just have like the $100,000 to $300,000 car, right?
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and
Poor.
but I mean that is the world we live in, and I just wish the budgets would be able to filter down to like the kids buying R32s and impassioned by those cars, because it's those cars that I think are the most danger.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like the business model works better if you make 10, 15 cars at
Yeah.
$15 million a piece than
Right.
20,000 cars at $300,000 a
Yeah,
piece.
yeah. I'll tell you that the other side that really fascinates me is like the reimagined element of the
Hmm.
industry, like whether it's Singer or Gunther Werks or wherever else. We covered that on Tailored, and I caught a guy in a company in England doing like Mark One or whatever I don't know the chassis code, but like the first generation Miatas.
Okay.
And it looked like as a reimagined car, it looks like quite affordable, right? Like compared to
Hmm.
even a lower end, 911 reimagining from a not Singer or Gunther Brooks,
Yeah.
but like it's interesting to me that like I guess if we're going to have manufacturers not really being able to make that stuff pencil to build as a new car, at least we have companies like doing this really amazing reinvention of cars that hold a dear place in our heart, from the Gen 1 Miata on up to whomever's doing the Diablo and other cars
Right.
look
Yes.
spectacular and spectacularly expensive.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And I think that market is only going to grow
Right.
unless some government bodies put a
Ease up.
stop on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see how that market will expand and people are looking for it. I mean, it's getting tougher and tougher for manufacturers to make um, enthusiast cars. Next year in 26 in Europe, they have new regulation coming up where I think decibel levels need to come down from 73 to 66 or something like that, which doesn't sound like much, but it's not a numerical scale. It's
It's really
almost,
inhibiting.
yeah, it's almost like half the noise level.
Right.
And they're coming up with cameras. When we have them in California where they have noise meters now
Oh my goodness.
where you can get a ticket for too loud exhaust. So yeah,
So
and
you roll past and you set off the decibels to a certain point.
yep,
You roll past that microphone. It takes a picture.
takes a picture of your license plate, and then you get a letter in the mail.
So bad joke, but if a bear shits in the wood, there is somebody around to hear it.
That's
I
right.
guess
That's
you got the cameras. Yeah.
you go where the cameras are not there.
Dude, it's so I know we have to like be more responsible with our emissions, and I don't have a problem with doing that in like my
Sure.
daily driver, right? But like I feel like we're off the deep end on.
It's just a natural progression. I wouldn't call it a progression, actually, it's the opposite, it's digression, a regression of what's happening. I mean, it's the same as people building condominiums next to a racetrack and then complaining that it's noisy and trying to shut the
Right.
racetrack down. I mean, you knew where you you were,
Well,
digging a hole to put a house in.
I have a theory on the car thing where like I've said a number of times on this podcast, so like I don't want to revisit, but it basically I think that like you have this thing happen where like EVs happen. Well, I know at Volkswagen Group you have Dieselgate happen, and then you have EVs happen, right?
Hmm.
And so you have these traditionalists in the car and like in the car world. If you're a car enthusiast, if you're outside, you just want to buy whatever the purest car is, right? And if you're inside and as an engineer on a development team, you only really want to continue to work on the stuff that you like. And so I feel like where the budgets all went to the EV development and the executives who really cared about the authenticity, of the old product and the purism of the drivetrains we were familiar with kind of stayed on those projects, and whomever inherited the projects moving forward were not car people. And so they envision a future where a car is an appliance and
Yeah.
not also like an authentic kind of pure lifestyle inducing sort of accessory. And that's the hard part. Like I've owned a Rivian. The Rivian was an amazing product.
Hmm.
It was like a daily driver and just knock around, get around car. I think it's a really amazing product, but um, you know, it's not like the 964 is such a different thing, and there needs to be room for both. I think for like
Yes, I
I'm fine
agree.
with all the people commuting buying
I
electric
agree.
cars
I
over vehicles.
100%. At the same time, just listening you speak and thinking of what is going on through the minds of the bean counters and some of those
Yeah,
OEM manufacturers is they make more money by producing um, appliances
yeah,
because people will be switching them up more often and they
yep.
won't have to
Lease it,
worry about
lease it again.
producing parts for older cars because they're
Yeah.
just going to be, phased out and they'll be done versus having to, I mean, it's 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 a difficult choice to make and some of it I don't want to necessarily place the blame in front of the manufacturers because a lot of it has to do with government regulations. But I can see it also from their standpoint is okay, how are we going to make more money and how are we going to
Well, they're
satisfy the
two different people.
shareholders?
manufacturers, right? If you're Andy Pruniger or like his team at Porsche, right? They are artisans making
Hmm.
a very specific product for a very specific clientele. And the hard part is it's impossible for the bean counters to quantify the value of the artisan product and the effect that has on retaining customers inside the brand, even at Porsche, astonishingly enough. But like certainly at Audi, right? Like in and other brands that I cover, Volkswagen, that
Yeah.
it's hard to make that case. And so you have people who count beans who are like, what do we need Audi Sport for, right? Like we sell enough Q5s or would, those are the more profitable products for us. We don't want to sell TT. We don't want to sell R8. I'm not saying everybody at Audi thinks that, but I'm sure there are executives who do, and they just look at the profit margins and they don't look at the retention in that scenario.
Yeah, the Audi case is interesting because I think a lot of people who are buying the Q5s, the Q7s, the e-trons are doing it because they do like what Audi used to have in the pipeline, which
All
is
right,
R8s and TTRSs. And without those cars, they might not give Audi a second chance or
right,
a second look. And with Porsches, I think the board realizes there that not only the profit margins are much higher on a GT3 RS than a regular 911. I mean, it's 85, 90% the same car and sells for three times as much.
right,
They say they're limited edition cars, but there's no limit to them.
right.
They'll pr produce just as many as people want, minus one. And they see
Not as
that.
bad as Corvette though.
What I think some of the manufacturers, Porsche in particular, have not seen is that when people are buying Cayennes and Macans, those customers are not the same customers necessarily as the ones who are buying the 911s and the 718s. So they cross shop.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
own a Macan now, what's stopping you from going to a Range Rover or Q5 next time or X3, it's
I think there are two analogies I give you on that with
mhm.
Porsche. One
Yeah.
is when I remember when BMW launched the first X7 at the Detroit Auto Show, and I was there working like Vortex at the time, and I got in a conversation with Fred Schwab, who was the president of Porsche,
Hmm.
and we're Porsche North America, and so we're standing across the aisle from that light blue X7, and they didn't have Cayenne yet, and he's like, "We're gonna do one." It makes sense because the average Porsche owner, I think at the time, I might have the numbers wrong, but as I recall, he said the average Porsche owner has like six vehicles, and like 90% of them, or some crazy amount, have an SUV in the driveway.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they buy a Porsche too?
Hmm.
As an accessory, so one business model then on Cayenne or the subsequent like rest of range product is that like you're going to sell additional cars to those like dyed in the wool Porsche customers, and then
Sure.
beyond that you have people who aspire to the brand and kind of coming into it, and maybe it's a gateway drug, if you will, to 911
Right.
and what have you. But like that makes sense. The other thing, the analogy that somebody told me once was Todd Sager from AWE was after we saw Vortex, we were dabbling with maybe getting into the Porsche space.
Hmm.
Todd was like, to understand that market, at least for them, it was you really have two types of Porsche sports car owners. You either have the like dyed in the wool guys who've had multiple cars and will that's all they'll ever buy, and then you have the folks who are like latest greatest, and when Porsche's in vogue, they buy one, but then the Ferrari comes out or something else, and they're on to the next one, and
Yeah.
they'll rotate back, but it's really about product launch rotation, and
Hmm.
it's not about staying in brand. And so like you're always going to have that sort of acquisition need.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe less so at Porsche because one would hope the sports cars make it obvious at Porsche, but places where sports cars have gone away, like Audi or enthusiast cars have gone away, like Volkswagen, is retention is this thing that like they don't. I'm amazed that they don't place a higher need on retention or brand differentiation. Without the R8, without the TT, what differentiates without the RS models or whatever, what differentiates Audi from Lexus that can outdo plain, vanilla crossovers and sedans better than you,
Sure.
Audi, or
Yeah.
Tesla, who can do electrics and has been doing electrics, in a much more dominant way. Audi might be able to claw in some market share here or there, but nothing really makes it stand out because there are people who already do that very well. And so,
Hmm.
um, for a brand like Audi or Volkswagen, they really need to lean in what makes them them, and that may not be, you know, a mid-sized crossover. Like
Sure.
you need
Sure.
one, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know that people without the sports cars would people care about the Macan's brilliant product, Cayenne's brilliant product, but would people care if the sports car range wasn't there?
I think that without it, there will be more like any other luxury
Yeah,
brand. Yeah.
yeah, I
And
agree.
they will be fighting harder for that customer.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope they figure it out, and I hope the profits don't get so thin that when you get to positions of desperation, not I don't want to say desperation, you know what I mean? When things get thin, budgets get cut, and if what's in vogue is not the artisan stuff that makes the brand authentic, um, it tends to suffer. So I'd like to
I
think
think
brands like
there will be some hurt in the short term, but
yeah.
the brand is strong and the customers are loyal. So
It,
they
it,
also they still produce some of the best cars in their segment. So
yeah.
it's easy to like them.
It seems like they're very aware too of I'm curious about Audi, but it seems like Porsche is very aware that the pushback on EV is there, and
Hmm.
so Macan is brilliant product. I'm sure new Cayenne EV will be brilliant product, but they can't. If the answer is only that, that's not probably the most
They're not going to sell as many.
right.
It's just basic economics. Yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah. Anyway, soapbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So all right. So, uh, SEMA was it SEMA as always, or was there a different feel or vibe there this year?
Yeah, in a way it was as always. It's always a crazy show. There's always a lot of people. There is always a lot of people who want to show off, and that's part of the event.
Right.
I did not think of it this year as flashy as other years. There was not a single car that would stand out. Like a few years ago, everybody was after the Supra, or then it was the Bronco was the star of the show, and every booth was
Right.
you had a Bronco in there. Or there was a time when lifted Cayennes were a thing. I think it was more evenly represented. We saw a lot of 911s, both old and new. 911s everywhere. Mercedes was strong too from the European brands. The Japanese brands were really strong as well. There were a lot of JDM cars. There was a Toyota 86 that was literally like someone took one apart and took the panels out and 3D scanned them and printed it. It's like the Timu 86 they called it.
I think I saw that on like Instagram or something. So it was
So
like a chassis of an 86, but
yeah, it was all with brand new panels that were practically replicated from the actual car, and then you can just buy them off the internet one by one.
are there many of those things on the road? Like
But
that many?
there
That
were a
makes
lot of
sense.
JDM cars
Yeah,
at SEMA this year, which is refreshing to see.
totally.
Hmm.
Were there many OEMs that like I know obviously the aftermarket is there, but like Ford pulled out, I want to say 2 years ago. Are they
Yeah, Toyota is there in a
Toyota's
strong
still there?
way, but that's about the only one that stood
GM's
out.
not there anymore.
What's that?
Is GM still there?
I didn't see him.
Like the main hall in the
The
center there?
no, no, it was Toyota. I did not see GM.
No. How about Dodge? They're usually what, wheel hall or Chrysler?
Uh,
I
Walked
guess.
very briefly through the wheel hall. It was not that spectacular, and I did not see them either.
Huh.
But yeah, Toyota Lexus was the only one that stood out at sort of at the entrance to the central hall where it's higher
That
up.
that to me is the part that concerns me a little bit, right? Like because it suggests that like while auto shows are on the wane, everywhere, right? So SEMA certainly wouldn't be the only one when you have like
Mhm.
Geneva and Frankfurt and Detroit and everything kind of not happening or much less car manufacturer participation. Um, but like OEMs not being there signals that it's not that personalizing vehicles or vehicles as an extension of one's self-expression or lifestyle or whatever is not prioritized. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it. I agree with that assessment. It's tough to see how they've pulled back. At the same time, the enthusiasm is there
Right.
from both the public, even though it's technically a trade show. You could see that there are a lot of enthusiasts there
Right. Right.
that are not going
They got to pass.
necessarily to do business, but
Yeah.
to see stuff and to capture snippets for social media. So the excitement is still very much there. Um, what will happen down the line? I think both in Europe in particular for our beloved brands, they're seeing that it's going to be difficult to just keep those brands, automotive brands afloat if they mandate EV or bust.
Yeah.
And they would have to slow down the pace. Here in the US, that's already happening for better or worse, but um, it's there's a lot of life left in that space. So I'm not too concerned about it, just especially based on seeing what's at SEMA and people are coming up with new products, whether it's for personalization, like you could see spray on PPF now and color PPF. Uh, People are still companies rather they're still innovating in terms of cooling, in terms of brakes, suspension. I mean, there's a company that put together a suspension for a 911 that is completely active, like an old 911, that you can take the anti-roll bars off.
Oh wow.
So, that stuff exists and they're developing it for
Right.
cars that are 30 years old. So, more power to them.
Yeah. No, totally. I always the 911 market always fascinates me, right? Whether it's like, is it Von the guy's making the hybrid system for the old
Yeah.
Vonnen?
Yeah.
And just the stuff that gets made. And like,
The thing is, those cars are valuable and people want to have something that looks like an old 911 but performs like a new 911. And I wouldn't even call it a cottage industry. It's a big industry that supports those dreams and makes things happen.
yeah. No, at the time I bought my 964, I had an Audi 4000, like an early one.
Hmm.
Small bumper. I loved the car, but everything on it was obsolete, right? Like everything. And so when I
Yeah.
bought the 964 and it's like, ashtray broke. Well, I've already been through like two of those in the couple years I've owned the car, but like, whatever. I can call up
You
Suncoast
can
or
find
whomever.
parts. You
Yeah, yeah.
can find
Porsche makes
parts,
it.
both
So,
new and used. I mean, with 964s in particular, thanks to Singer, you can find
oh yeah.
any used
Take
car
off market is
that you can think of, except for doors and a few other pieces. Everything else you can get.
yeah, that's I gotta at some point I made contact with that guy who sells their takeoff parts and I forget where I met him, maybe one 964 group on Facebook, but
Yeah, Audubon.
I'll
They're
reach
they're
out.
down here close to me. Yeah, I've,
Are
I've
they?
been to their facility. They donated a set of rear seats for one of the project that we did with PCA, and unbelievable the amount of parts they had.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were some Maritime Blue pieces too. Someone
Were they really?
completely took apart it was a European car, took apart their car, and
There is part of me, I've got the turbo seats in mind, but there is part of me, it's like if I could find some weirdo interior, right? Like because it's a black exterior, if I could find
Mhm.
like a green leather or something brown, something strange, but like OEM pulled out of one of
Yeah.
those Singer donor cars, like I would totally rock a green or weirdo interior.
I saw yesterday a 911, a new one, a GT3 Touring, Nardo gray. It was this flat gray color,
Yeah.
non-metallic. completely nondescript
It's
with
an Audi color,
Riviera
actually.
blue interior, and it looks
Really?
so good. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's the new for me it's the new thing. There's so
Sure.
many there's so many people now doing PTS or Audi exclusive or BMW individual like a lot of these cars turning up, and it's wonderful to see weirdo
Hmm.
color, but like part of me thinks if I were buying a car today, I might just get or if I were buying a new 911, I would just do like a silver GT3 Touring and like weirdo, like green leather interior, Pepita. Like, so when you open it, like I see it when I go in, but
Yeah,
I'm just
I'm
blending in
with you
there.
there to an extent
Yeah,
because that's where you're going to be spending most of your time.
right.
And if you're in a bright green interior doing 8 hours of driving, I think
Uh,
it'll get a bit too much for me.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I saw this I was at the Hershey Antique Auto Show like 2, 3 years ago, and
Hmm.
one of the high end dealers who comes in there had like a 69S
Yeah,
that was like silver with green leather and Pepita, and it was just such a simple Fuchs. So it was a very clean
sure.
original S, and like it was just such a statement car. But like you'd walk right past it, like you had to if you knew you knew, but if you didn't, you'd walk right past it and not even look twice because it's just an old silver long hood, and then you get up close and you're like, oh, it's an S. Oh, it's got pita. Oh, it's green. Like that's a
The
horrible.
understated parts. Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Anyway, hey man, I appreciate you taking the time.
I was really happy to
It's nice to catch up.
get the invitation from you and really enjoyed our chat. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. We should do this. We should chat more. Not necessarily. I mean, happy to record too, but it's just nice catching up.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's think about next year around the Canadian Grand Prix or
Okay.
the parade at Lake Placid.
Yeah, yeah. I'd imagine registration for Placid's probably coming up soon. If it hasn't.
And it starts in January. You can register
Okay.
for quite a while to attend, but a lot of the driving events, if you wanted to participate in some of the competitive or driving events, they
Yeah.
sell out quick.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can just register and go there and go to some of the dinner events and things like that. I can, if you have the time, I can guide you through the things that might
Okay.
be more worth your while versus things you might want to skip.
All right. I'll check my schedule and if figure out the dates.
Excellent.
It'd be cool to hang out.
Be fun to see each other in person again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
The Taylor Driver Podcast is part of the Weekly Driver podcast series. Seeking more than the sea of monotone in today's automotive landscape? So are we. Taylor Driver exists just beyond the intersection of obsessive and compulsive. For those who see the brochure as merely a starting point and have the drive to execute their dreams. Taylor Driver covers the factory tailors such as Ad Personam by Lamborghini, Audi Exclusive, Atelier Ferrari, BMW Individual, Fiora Seri by Maserati, Manufacture by Mercedes-Benz, Porsche Paint to Sample and Sonderwunsch, Q by Aston Martin, McLaren Special Operations, Mulliner by Bentley, and so many more. It covers limited production special editions as well as personalization from carrozzeria like Pininfarina and the world of remasters, including firms such as Singer Vehicle Design, Gunter Works, and Alphaholics. Visit TaylorDriver.com to see it all, or follow Taylor Driver on your favorite social media channels and YouTube.